So when you think of Goethe's The Sorrows of Young Werther, you probably think of the ultimate tragic love story, right? A guy, a girl, a broken heart. But what if that's not the whole picture? What if his real tragedy wasn't just about love, but about something way, way bigger? Right, let's dig into this. Was Werther just a lovesick hero? Or was he actually a victim of his time? We're going to make the case that his very personal pain was actually a public problem, one caused by the invisible architecture of the world he lived in. And that's what we're going to unpack. So, first things first, we have to look at the society he was in. The 18th century Holy Roman Empire was, well, a world of invisible walls. And poor Werther was trapped smack dab in the middle of them. I mean, just look at the setup. You've got the nobility at the top holding all the power just because of who their parents were. Way down at the bottom, you have the peasantry, who Werther kind of romanticizes as being, authentic. And then there's him. He's part of the bourgeoisie. Educated, artistic, full of feeling, but totally placeless. Not noble enough to hang with the aristocrats, but too different to really be part of the common folk. He's stuck.
And this isn't just some theory, okay? It actually happens in the book, and it is brutal. He's at a party at his friend Count C's house, and the high and mighty nobility shows up. Since Werther isn't one of them, his presence is basically a scandal. He gets publicly called out and told to leave. I mean, can you imagine the humiliation? Just a total rejection based on nothing but class.
And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It didn't matter that Werther was brilliant or passionate or full of spirit. In his world, the accident of your birth meant infinitely more than who you were as a person. All his best qualities were, to the people in power, completely worthless.
But here's the thing. His social prison had two walls. It wasn't just the nobles shutting him out. He couldn't connect with the common people he claimed to admire so much either. He's always watching them from a distance, feeling sorry for them, but never actually a part of their world. He's just a spectator.
And he even says so himself. He knows there's a line he can't cross. So he complains about the nobles being so aloof, but honestly, he's doing the exact same thing. He is fundamentally a lone observer, and he knows it. He's never really in the game.
Okay, so his social world is a dead end, but that's only part of the story. Werther's alienation was also deeply philosophical. His entire being was basically at war with the big ideas of his time. You see, his era was dominated by the Enlightenment, this whole movement about reason, logic, order, and rationality. But Werther, he was the poster child for a new rebellious counter-movement called Sturm und Drang, which was all about intense feeling, individual genius, and the wild human spirit. He was pure emotion in an age that worshipped the cold, hard facts. And you can see this clash play out perfectly when he tries to have a career. He gets a job working for an ambassador who is obsessed with picky, soul-crushing paperwork. For Werther, this isn't just a boring job. It is a stifling prison. It's everything he stands against. You know, philosophers actually have a pretty cool name for this feeling: ontological rupture. It sounds complicated, but it just means feeling totally disconnected from a world that seems like a meaningless, soulless machine. And that's exactly what the logical, orderly world of the Enlightenment felt like to Werther. He just couldn't plug into it. So he's trapped by society, and he's at war with its philosophy. But the most brilliant, most powerful proof of his alienation is actually hidden in plain sight. It's in the very way the novel is written. The whole story, from start to finish, is told through letters. Specifically, letters that Werther is writing to his friend, Wilhelm. So we're seeing everything through his eyes, hearing everything in his voice. It's super personal, super subjective. But that brings up a really big question. As he's pouring his heart out on the page, letter after letter, who is actually listening? Well, the answer is kind of no one. We never hear back from Wilhelm, not once. We never read his replies. And the effect is huge. We, the reader, are literally trapped inside Werther's head, forced to listen to a completely one-sided conversation. He's having a dialogue with a void. This is such a genius move by Goethe because it forces us to feel Werther's isolation. It hammers home his loneliness. It shows us how his inner world is completely out of sync with reality. And boom, just like that, you have the birth of the tortured romantic hero, a guy so trapped in his own head that no other voice can ever get in. All right, let's pull all these threads together now, because this story is about so much more than just a broken heart. The architecture of Werther's alienation was a three-part prison. First, he was socially trapped, with nowhere to go.
Second, he was philosophically at war with his entire era. And third, he was structurally isolated, stuck inside his own narrative echo chamber. It was a perfect storm of disconnection. So, in the end, Werther's tragedy wasn't a personal failing. It was a symptom. He was a casualty of a world in motion, an individual whose very spirit was just incompatible with the programming of his time. And that really leaves us with one final big question, doesn't it? Werther was trapped by the invisible walls of the 18th century. But it makes you stop and think. What are the invisible walls of our own time? And how much are they shaping who we are, what we're allowed to feel, and who we have the chance to become?